Hey, welcome back everybody to another Midweek Tuesday stream. We're going to be continuing the shot from last week, and we will be jumping into that again today, adding in some more explosions, fixing up some comp stuff. Alright, okay, so this is the shot that we currently have right now. I have it cached out. I did a couple things. Firstly, I disabled the pseudo color grade that I did last week. It looked not great in my opinion. And then the second thing I did was I adjusted the camera shake slightly. I think we're still going to touch it up this week a little bit more, and we're just going to add in a few things that will make a huge difference to our explosion. So I think first of all, let's find our debris here. Let's go ahead and add in like a nice motion blur. Just throw a motion blur filter in there. I'm going to increase the samples to something like 10, so that way we're not going to get as much jitter. We can adjust the shutter angle as well if we want to have, a little bit less motion blur. I'm probably going to go with like a 0.5 because I think that'll work really nicely for our shot here. And since we're doing this before this merge node thing here, it's actually going to all of the different elements of the shot. So we're actually comping this in front of the flames as well. I think the other thing we want to do is I already mentioned it. Let's go to our camera shake that we're currently doing here. This is where the jitter of the explosion is happening. I'm thinking we want it to start on frame 1008 here. So I'm going to go ahead and here and adjust those things. So we have these multiple cards that are being used here for the fire and the explosion. Let's add in an O flow, and I'm going to use, instead of that, we'll use a frame number and set this to like 1012, I think. Let's go ahead and set this to a keyframe, and then just go to the couple frames before, just set that to 1000. Should be able to adjust via keyframe here. And then we'll go to our last frame here and set this to like 1068. Let's add an O flow. Now let's go ahead and cache this back. Let's set the out keyframe here so that way we can just watch back this one section here. I love how it just stops, which is not what we want, but we have to add another keyframe in. Let's see, let's go all the way over to the end of our sequence here, and we're just going to add in 1073. Let's do that. That's this O flow right there, and then this O flow right there. So we have keyframes for the end of the entire shot. Technically, it's not playing at full speed here. Might have to cache these guys down. 1068 would do, I think this should be like 72. 1014, so that's 3 frames ahead. So 3 frames ahead is 71. Just try not to get like a weird frame rate. So like when I get to here, it needs to be like a whole number rather than like a partial frame. I can just set a keyframe to this mixed node, and then I just make it so that I only have one thing pop up at a time, because sometimes it's just a lot easier to have happen. I already have the keyframes here, so I'm just going to drag this over. I'm just going to delete the O flows that we currently have. I have it keyframed to go from 2 to 4. Maybe that'll make it just fly a little faster. I do think though this center piece here, what is this center one? So we have 2 sides and a front. Let's not do this second keyframe. If we delete that, let's see, where does that put us? Oh, that's the center one here that's exploding, but also I think that's going to be a little bit better. Let's find this guy. So it's just the second keyframe is what we want. Yeah, let's delete that second keyframe. And that's just on the front-facing explosion of the dirt. Delete that frame range. Don't need that anymore. Let's go to our explosion effect that we have here. I'm going to move this card down. And then let's just add in a slight blur to it. I think it should be perfectly visible. Not too much. And actually, we might even want to throw like an edge blur onto it. And just blur that a little bit more, like that. And then let's just increase the brightness of our edges here. I think I might be blurring a little bit much. So let's disable the blur. Under the edge blur here, I'm just going to increase the brightness ever so slightly more. And that's going to add a little bit of kind of like a light wrap almost to some of the edges that we have going on here that's just feeling a little dark. We want to have something flying into the scene here. I don't even know, like we have it fly like in this direction right here and hits like the ground or something. Is that what we're going to go for? He's not running away from a bomb, he's running away from like a missile attack. I'm just going to download just a random photo. Kiev Cruise Missile Strike. It's a WebPG photo though. That's problematic. Here you guys go. Screenshot, MS Paint, paste it, crop. Who uses MS Paint? I do. Save that. And I'm thinking that we'll just roto it out, get what we want. Now with the pre-multiply, we could go and just pre-multiply that, and here's what we'll get. We got ourselves a missile. I'm just going to throw another merge node in. We just merge that back on top of our footage. But since I got myself a little transform node here, I could just place that guy wherever I want. I'm also going to say auto alpha this thing, because otherwise what's going to end up happening is he's like slightly transparent because it's plussing itself on top of it. The other thing we're going to want to do is make this guy a little bit bigger, because I don't know much about missiles, but I do know that they're not supposed to be small. We need to go to the end of our sequence here, not like looking at the visual effects plate. I'm like, where's the explosion? Alright, so we'll just set a keyframe here. Technically speaking, on the next frame here, I want this to be below that. So we'll go ahead and set a keyframe, and we'll go 3 frames back or so, and then just have it go back. Here's the trajectory, and perfect. So this right here, if we now add in motion blur and then shut the shutter offset to centered, that's going to make it like so. I'm thinking also, here's the thing guys, we don't really want to see a trail. So now we have this kind of like motion blur happening in here. I'm also going to, okay, so this is frame 7. Frame 8, I kind of want it to be gone, so let's set a keyframe of 1 on 7 and then delete it afterwards on that merge node right there. But I could scale it up by 30%. One more thing. Let's take this keyframe here. Let's see, yeah, it's already completely gone. Thinking this frame right here, I want it to be a little bit closer to the impact zone. This frame right here, let's just slow it down a bit. This frame right here, we'll just, something like that's fine. And then finally completely off. Let's get that with our explosion all the way down here. See what that looks like. Now let's add some shockwaves in. So this is our footage. We're working in a 1920 by 1080 timeline, and I think that this footage is 2K, so we're going to want to reformat this firstly. And that'll reformat it to HD, so that we're working with the correct resolution here. Then we'll just merge this back on top of our regular shot. I'm going to also add a transform node. We're going to need to do a time offset and do this of like about 1009. And I am thinking we're going to want to speed this guy up. So I'm going to, before this, we'll just add an O-flow, and then we're just going to change the output speed to something like 2, so that's why it's 2xing. Now let's take this transform and just line them up with our sequence here. But let's go ahead and set a keyframe here to this scale, and then just kind of scale him up. I'm going to make sure he's black on the last frame, so that way we don't even see him anymore. Okay, great. So now if we remove this merge node, the idea that we're going to have here is we're just going to throw an eye distort in, and we're going to do a shuffle node instead of a merge node. And we can take this input from over here and shuffle that into our actual footage. So I'm going to say, for instance, I want to take the A input of the RGBA, right? So that's taking this input right here, RGBA, and then I'm going to be putting that into my explosion effect that I want to have. So I'm going to create a new layer that we're going to call Heat 1. And then I can just auto RGBA because we're going to just use red, green, blue, alpha. And that's going to create all of those channels. So now if I feed these over into that, I'm taking the A here and feeding it into the alpha of all of those things. So now, if I go to my explosion, let's just say we go to like this frame here, 1014 or something like that. If I go up here, instead of viewing the RGBA channel, I can now see that heat has been added. And when I select that, it'll actually show that heat wave that we added. Essentially, we can say, let's use the mask of our specific Heat 1 channel. So I'm going to just do the UV channels of Heat 1. And then now I can offset everything. And then now we can actually adjust everything here through this UV scale option. And we're going to want something decently subtle. And we can kind of see that here. So this is how much should be being distorted. To see it a little bit better, we can even drop in a blur node here and then also select our Heat Alpha. And then just blur out using that alpha channel of that heat wave that we're passing into it. And I'm not gonna lie, right now I'm not a huge fan of the lens dirt that we comped in. Let's get rid of that for right now. And then overall, thinking we might want to do is add some more dirt into the explosion back here. So they have some of these assets as well, so I'm gonna comp a dust explosion in to our shot here. So let's swap this over to ourselves like an 1886 material, and let's just see what this looks like. So let's see, let's find our fire track. It's this guy right here. Let's place this in, and then we're gonna comp this on the same layer as this. There's where all of our dirt is going, or it's actually subtracting everything. So I'm going to move all of this down. Let's add a dot in as well, just to help keep this organized inside of our comp. Now I'm going to take these guys. So we're putting this in 2048 1350. So I do want it to be the correct resolution size. We're going to want this comped in now to be probably behind it. Currently it's in front of it, so let's just swap that real quick. And we'll go to the frame that it needs to be at. I also think we're probably going to need to scale everything up here. I'm going to crop that out, so now I just got the smoke there. It's going to be a little bit better. Now if we put that in behind our explosion, we're going to want this to be a little bit bigger than it. Well, actually, also we're going to want to scale this guy up. I'm going to add in a grade node up here. Just darken everything up a little bit. Let's try fixing this up. The other thing we could do, I suppose, is let's take this merge node here. I'm just going to drop that in like so. And then that's just our explosion. Let's place this in the background. And this shuffle node right here is also problematic. Let's place this above everything. We're going to also merge. This is a trick, by the way. Whenever you have these shuffles and then these merges are afterwards, you need to make sure that it's also merging everything. So also merge all. And you have to do that on everything going down the line. And then that just gets put in cards. Let's see how this plays now with our new dust explosion that we added in there. The other issue we're having is this crop here. So let's go fix that. I think I know exactly what's going on. So I am cropping the top of my explosion because I'm using a card. We'll just use a separate card that gets plugged into the scene. This right here is our wonderful merge node keyframe that we're using. So let's just place that like so. Perfect. Now, what we need to do is a calculation that is going to scale down our smoke effect here, but also scale up the reformat essentially at the same time. We can do that. Let's just scale this down to 1. Alright, also, this transform node here now needs to get placed closer to down there. Now we need to just reposition our smoke that we had because it can't be on the same card. We're just going to actually get rid of the transform altogether. We're just going to have that kind of work. Now I need this card to be placed in 3D space in the correct area. So we can now double select this. Let's go ahead and scale him up. We're just going to place him behind and the correct size. A little bit closer. I don't want any parallax really happening between the effects. Okay, is there anything else? I think this O-flow was the only thing that we were really using before. I also want to copy and paste our Roto node that we were using. It's getting a little messy over here. We do want to crop out the bottom here, so that's problematic. I might actually not want to use the Bezier curve that we already had in there. We might want to do it this way. Down here, I want to take the toe of everything, and we're just going to lift it slightly, like so. And then if we take the saturation, we're just going to... this line is driving me crazy. I gotta fix that somehow, because that's just not working. There we go. Like at this stage of the glow, we can redo some glow stuff here, but we're gonna just do it not on its own layer like we were doing before. I think that works really well for like fire and stuff, but it doesn't work super great for this. So if we boost our tolerance though, we can kind of isolate the area of the fire through this, and then we can do all of our work this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit, if we isolate by boosting the tolerance all the way up, we can change the brightness here to be, I don't know, we'll kind of do the same thing we did before, where we take this and then reduce the saturation. If I take this now and we merge this back on top of everything, what we'll notice is, we'll use this as a plus, of course. What we'll notice is now that it's only going to be adding glow to the flames there, rather than to the smoke as well, because essentially we're going to be isolating it more clearly. So let's do that again. We're just going to add another glow in, and then again we're just going to have to boost our tolerance all the way up, and then with our brightness, I don't know, another 0.5 should be fine. Our saturation, let's just do 0.75. Let's actually boost this up a little bit as well. We're going to do effect only again, and this time we're going to merge it back on, another plus operator. So now this is going to be adding glow in a bit more realistically there. I also might want to adjust this glow. I think the size is way too large. Just like bring it down to something quite a bit smaller. And then our other glow, let's see, it's a little large as well. Let's bring that down. Let's see, yeah, let's just add another glow in. And again, the tolerance all the way up. and then take this final brightness here. We're just going to boost this 1.5, change the saturation, and then change the size here to like a 500. We're going to say effect only, and then we'll just merge this back onto our footage again, just like we did before. We'll use another plus operator. Now this one, do quite a bit less. And that's going to get rid of our hard line that we had, and just kind of add only that explosion to the part that we need. Let's select all 3 of these cards, and if we select merge geo, yeah, here it is, merge geo. Boom, boom, boom. Then we do a time offset, 21. And so now I've got a whole separate card here. We go into 3D now. Just do a transform. And this guy, we'll grab him. I don't think we want that explosion added to it. So what we have are these 2 dirt blasts here. Oh, and that card all the way up there. There it is. I was like, I know there's another card. Yeah, so what this is going to do now is it merges all these into one card that I can select it, you know, hide and all that stuff. And then with this other transform, I can go in, I could select this transform, and then now I can place this second card wherever I want in my scene. Let's just do that this way. I'm going to place it over here. Let's just see if we could see that. I might have moved it too far away. Oh, right. And then this needs to get placed into the scene here. And now it's floating in the air. So let's go fix that. And it is quite far away. So like, let's kind of place this roughly, you know, something like that should do. And then we need to make sure that it's on the ground. So grab that, move it down onto the ground. Let's get that to update. Now that that's on the ground, the only other thing is we'll need camera shake here to happen again. So I'm just going to go into our dope sheet and copy paste, have this happen on frame like 21 or something like that. Instead of having this merge also this explosion asset right here, the only thing I would have to do is copy paste this one card and have a second card that does the exact same thing. In fact, I'll show you. Why not? Let's do it. And then copy paste all of this stuff as well. And this and this. I'm just going to do that real quick just so we have it. So then it's going to create this brand new card over here. And again, this just gets selected like so. And let's just say, so this is Gas Explosion 14. I think I've got another one in here. Gas Explosion 14. So then I got Gas Explosion 4. So I could just drag that over here. And we'll just change the color space real quick to sRGB. And if I just replace that, I have this card over here. And so instead of this merge geo being selected onto this card, I can just replace it with this card. And so then now my new explosion will be a different explosion that I can have. And you could do that with anything. So like if I did want to go in and have different debris explosions, I could also do that. I could also kind of, if I wanted to, I could throw a transform geo after one of these cards and flop them. So that way, at least it's going like a different direction. I'm going to go in here real quick and I'm going to, yeah, just reposition this slightly so that way it's, I think it looks, that's better. Okay, so then we would only need our missile to happen. So frame 25. Okay, so there's the second explosion. Okay, so it happens on like frame 1029, I think. So let's go to our dope sheet here and then just move these keyframes over a few. I think that works. Now we just need a second missile that's coming in. So we'll set the keyframe to that again. Oh, well, yeah, actually, technically speaking, we're going to want it over here. And then we'll go back a few frames. Just kind of have that pop all the way up. We don't want to see it, so just copy paste this last keyframe here to right before that happens. The one thing I really like is the Blender keyframes are on your timeline, so that way you can just literally copy paste stuff so easily. That's right, this needs to be visible, I think, right? Let's see, I want this to be like right here. And then this last one right there. And then yes, of course, completely out at that point. So now we're going to have two missiles. The first one kind of comes in there, and then the second one comes in there. But anyways, guys, thanks for dropping in today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. Stay creating. I'll for sure see you guys on Discord. So if you guys have any videos or stuff that you're working on, like visual effects shots, please make sure to share that on the Discord. It's always the best for that. And I'll see you guys next time.